Well. Clemson Tiger fans, college football fans, welcome back to another episode of the All In Show here on the Voice of College Football Clemson channel. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Sorry we got a little bit of a late start, but that's how things go sometimes. But nonetheless, we appreciate you joining us. My partner, my co-host will be joining us soon. That's Jordan Bowman. He's waiting in the back room for us right now. But before we get to that, if you are not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button for us. We are on the road to 5,000 subscribers, and we appreciate all your guys' support. And as always, this is a live video, so the likes do matter more so on the live videos than really any other video. It helps get it out to more people. So we appreciate if you are in here right now, if you could just go ahead and hit that like button for us. And also get your comments in the live chat, okay? We love interacting with the live chat. We love chopping it up with you guys and talking about whatever you guys want to talk about, especially at the end of the show. So don't be afraid to get your comments in there. Get questions in there, stuff that you want to hear me and Jordan talk about. By all means, get it in there. And last but certainly not least, if you would like to support the channel in any other way, links are in the description of this video. And you could also use the super chat feature at any point in time throughout the show. But without further ado, let's bring on my buddy, my colleague, my illustrious co-host, Jordan Bowman.
What's up, man?
Hey, man. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. I know that for both of us, this week has been kind of hectic. Getting our ass kicked by life.
Absolutely.
But hey, we're glad to be here. My sinuses and allergies are destroying me right now. So you guys are gonna have to forgive me. You're gonna have to put up with me, looking off screen every once in a while because I'm sneezing my brains out. So if you see that a bunch of times during this show, you'll know why. You'll know why. But yeah, other than that, we're doing great.
Yeah, we're doing absolutely amazing. I got home like 45 seconds ago and fired up this stream. Sorry, guys, those of you out there in YouTube land. Normally, I make it in the morning before I leave for work, but it's been such a crazy week at work, working late, going in early every single day. It's just kind of been hectic. So sorry I didn't get that out for you guys. But you can always count on me and Jordan. We will be here come hell or high water.
Right.
We will be here at 7 p.m. every Thursday to bring you guys a show. So thank you guys for coming out. So quick shout out to the comment section. We got Connor Johnson, a Beavs fan. We got the Beavs fan in here, man. He said DJU for Heisman. What do you think about that?
I hope that happens. We're both rooting for him. So
hey, man.
Hey, maybe Jonathan Smith turns DJ into a really, just Heisman caliber quarterback. That would be something to see.
Hey, he could, right? It could happen.
Yep.
It could definitely happen. You guys all out there, you know how me and Jordan feel about DJU. I wish him all the best. I hope he has amazing success there and goes on to the NFL and does great things. So thank you for getting in tonight, Connor. Ben Adams is in here, says, yo, what's up, man? Thanks for joining us. Edward's in here, said, Jordan, I meant to tell you last week we never offer running back Welch.
Yeah. I went back and double checked that. Yeah. So I believe he will be visiting in March. So I think he's still coming on an official visit. But for now, the lone running back offer is still North Cobb, 4-star running back David Ezio Mume. So I went and I'm proud of myself for pronouncing his name. I went back after.
Look at that. I'm
got
not
it
going to
right.
try to
So,
follow
hey.
that up, by the way. I'm not going to try to follow that up. There's no way.
I've had a lot. I've had a lot of practice, and we'll talk about him later in the show because there's some interesting and positive developments on that front that we can get to as well. But
okay, awesome. Always like some good news in the recruiting department. That's the lifeblood of the program. So it's always good to hear we're getting movement. And we got that big recruiting day coming up first weekend of June, right?
Yep, a lot of
that summer official visit that Dabo Swinney kind of debuted last offseason, which
yielded great results.
Yeah, worked out pretty well for us. So go ahead and hit that repeat button on that one, right?
Yep.
Fire that thing up again and see if we can get the ball rolling again. That'll be good. That'll be good for sure. Michigan football at the Voice of College Football is in the chat. Thanks, guys. Thanks for showing up. We appreciate you guys. Go ahead and check out their channel as well over there, talking some Michigan football.
You know. My guy John Diadamo, who is in the comment section right now, he's been a participator on that live show the past couple of weeks. So make sure to tune in into his show as well. He gives a lot of insight onto the Michigan program. One of the most knowledgeable guys in this community. So make sure you guys give him a lot of support too.
Absolutely. Shout out to them. Their channel's going crazy over there too. So shout out to them. James Thompson says, good luck with that. Yeah, well, maybe DJ won't win the Heisman. You know, maybe that's a little bit lofty expectations, but, you know, one can dream, right? One can hope. Let DJU dream. John gets in and said, good attitude about DJU, even though Cade and Eric all took a few shots, I'll still root for them. Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, it is what it is, right? It didn't work out for DJU. I'm never going to bash the dude. I mean, if you look at how he handled everything, I don't know how many people out there, like, it's easy to sit back and be like, yeah, that's how you should handle things and, you know, all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, if you were in that position, that's not an easy thing to go through, right? Being pulled out of the game multiple times throughout the season. He never moped on the sideline. He was always supportive of Cade. Every time Cade went in the game, every time Cade made a play, he was the first guy out there cheering his team on, right? So I know, you know, I feel like as fans, we kind of get complacent with that sometimes. And, you know, we just expect that out of especially quarterbacks because they tend to be in more of that leadership role on the team. But that's not an easy thing to do. So I do appreciate everything he did do for Clemson, even though it did not work out.
Absolutely.
And I think the relationship ended with him and Clemson on a good note, right? Nobody was, you know, mad on either side, right? Both parties understood that it was time to move on. So that helps a lot as well. Courtney Craven gets in, says, make sure you are hitting that like button. Yes, please hit that like button. That's my wife in there. Thank you very much. Let's see. Who else we got in here? Who else we got? Edward, already said him. He said he's so hyped about Nolan.
Aaron Noland. Well, I'll talk about him as well when we get to more of the recruiting side of things.
Okay. Stay tuned, Edward. Jordan Bowman's going to get us spun up on all things recruiting tonight. We'll talk all about that. That'll be the last topic we'll talk about before we dive back into the comments section. Steel Gambles in here says, "What's up, y'all? Go Tigers!" Absolutely, go Tigers! Thank you for stopping in tonight. We appreciate it. Ben Adams says, big Michigan fan, but love Dabo and the way he runs his program. As do we, Ben. Thanks for getting in here, man. Thanks for
another
the
guy
support.
in the Mark Rogers Patreon community. Really awesome dude. Huge Michigan fan. Glad to see you, man.
Yeah, thanks for the support, man. We appreciate it. Steel Gamble says, Cade is my dark horse Heisman pick. That may not be a bad pick.
You probably get some good odds on that. I don't know if they've released the odds on that, but
I will warn you though, Steel Gamble. There is one thing working against him, and that is he's a Clemson quarterback.
A Clemson quarterback. Yeah, that's a good point.
So he's got the white tiger paw on the side of his helmet. So I'm sure you can get some great odds, but I don't know if it'll happen. I'll believe it when I see it. We got Mark Rogers in here. We got the voice of college football dropping in our comments section, Jordan. So he said the show tweet just got a like from Christopher Vizina. If you're with us tonight, Chris, welcome. Hey, shout out Chris Vizina.
Yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
I retweeted that tweet. Chris follows me on Twitter, so
okay.
He probably saw it from there. So, hey, Chris, if you're out there, if you're listening, glad to have you.
If you're listening,
even if you're just tuning in.
Yeah, even if you're just tuning in, you don't want to comment, that's fine. Thanks for tuning in. But if you just retweeted to retweet it, we appreciate that as well. We appreciate the support, and we're glad you are a Clemson Tiger. So thanks for that. Jamarius Payne gets in and says, hot take, Kelly Bryant and DJ weren't bad QBs.
I don't think that's a hot take.
Maybe to some, right? He may have a fair point to some. Yeah,
they're two very divisive quarterbacks that were very limited. They had their ups and downs in their careers, but no, by no means were either one of them bad quarterbacks. They both had tremendous records as starting quarterbacks that would have been great at a lot of other programs. I mean, what Kelly Bryant in his 1 year, I mean, but they went 12-2, won the ACC, went to the playoff. DJ was 21-6 through 2 years. Like those are outstanding records just from an objective standpoint, from a quarterback perspective. And I don't think that's a hot take. I think they just weren't the quarterbacks that Clemson needed to get them over the top and push them into that national championship conversation. But hey, Kelly, he did a lot for this program, and he won a lot of games. That's true. He does still have the most ranked wins in the season. That was a tough schedule that Clemson played in 2017. They played Auburn and a ranked South Carolina. Who else was ranked that season? Just a ton of tough opponents. I think Boston College was ranked that year.
It was a tough schedule.
And
I mean, we went to the college football playoff semifinals, right? It's not like we had a terrible season or anything like that. He played well. The problem is Trevor Lawrence came in, and there's a lot of quarterbacks out there that would lose their job to Trevor Lawrence coming in. It's just, unfortunately, he got replaced by elite recruiting, right? That's how Kelly Bryant lost his job.
That's right. He beat Lamar Jackson at Louisville, and that game wasn't as close as the year before. That was it was a great defensive effort too. But no, he won a lot of games. He blew out Miami in the ACC championship game. Won the MVP for that game. Kelly is a great Clemson quarterback. Definitely.
Yeah. So tons of respect for Kelly Bryant, man. He did his thing at Clemson.
And there's still a lot of love. There's still a lot of love there. He still loves the program. He got a lot of criticism at times while he was here, but it's similar to DJ, but it's all love, and he still has a lot of positive things about the program. He and Dabo and his teammates still have a really great relationship. So that's all you can really ask for. And those are I appreciate both of them for what they were able to accomplish during their Clemson careers. So
and they both went through tough things at Clemson, right? They both got replaced eventually by another quarterback that was recruited after them, which is a tough thing to deal with. I just talked about how DJ dealt with it. Kelly Bryant did a pretty good job of dealing with it too, right? And I think Dabo Swinney and Clemson did right by Kelly Bryant by letting him know, like, hey, we're going to go with Trevor from this point forward. You've only played in 4 games, so you can still redshirt if you want, right? I don't think they were like, hey, you're off the team, right? But that's super cool that Dabo leveled with him and he was real with him. He was like, look, we're going with Trevor Lawrence. So, if you want to continue to play, you want to go somewhere else, we understand. And gave him that opportunity by telling them that, after the 4th game, right? So no love law, there's still love between all of those guys in Clemson. I don't think any of those ended really badly or anything like that. John gets in, said, always love when the friends and family come. Yeah, man, it's always nice to have the support of the friends and family. I know Aaron Edward says, I know Aaron Nolan and been following him. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit more about him later in the show. That's pretty cool. Maybe you can share some stories about Aaron Nolan later on in the show for us, Edward. That'd be cool.
Oh, wait, no, he says, I know about.
I know about it.
I don't think he knows him personally. That would have been cool, though.
My bad. See, reading comprehension. See, can't read. I'm working on it, guys. Don't worry. I'm a professional. John gets back in and said, Clemson and Michigan fans have one key thing in common. We both love beating the Buckeyes.
Damn right.
Sir, no truer words have been spoken.
Hey, look, I got excited over Clemson softball beating Ohio State over the weekend.
I'm trying to tell you. Hey, I watched both games, and I was so excited in that second game, that Sunday game, to round out the weekend when we run ruled them.
Yeah.
Man, I was so excited. By the way, Clemson softball still undefeated, guys, in case you were
and ranked in the top 5. First time in program history. It's amazing what that program has accomplished in just 4 years of existence. They're in their 4th year of existence. So that's just a testament to what Coach Rittman has done, taking over a program that's a startup program that really had no expectations, plays in a tough league, and they're already one of the best college softball programs in the country. And how about
it's
Valerie
amazing.
Cagle?
Valerie Cagle is insane. Mackenzie Clark has been out of her mind this season.
Absolutely.
She's literally led off 3 games this season with solo shots. I don't know how many Clemson softball fans we have in here other than myself, but they're doing amazing, dude.
Hey, I'm a huge softball fan. Come down. Come on, man.
I got you. It's easier than watching basketball. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Well,
we'll
don't get me started on basketball.
We'll get started on the Clemson basketball collapse, but starting out, I think Clemson softball's playing right now. Actually,
they are. They I believe they're up 2-0 on.
They were up 2-0 last time I checked. Oh, yeah.
Valerie Cagle opened up with a 2-run homer.
Yeah, they're up 4-0 now. So that's how fast Clemson scores.
They're playing South Florida, right? I think they're playing South Florida.
Yes, South Florida. Yep, playing South Florida. So they're on a road stretch right now after being home for a little bit. So they're on the road stretch for the next I think 5 or 6 games. But
Mark said you guys can't wait until I check out before you beat up on the Buckeyes. Sorry, Mark.
My bad. It's
especially the last few years. It's a Clemson tradition. It's just there's a rivalry there. It's just you can't really deny it. There's some, or if you don't want to call it a rivalry, it's definitely there's definitely some mutual animosity.
There's mutual fan hate between the 2 programs for sure. We both love to go at each other, and for me, it runs super deep. Right, I had people growing up that were Ohio State fans.
That's right.
And I absolutely hated it. And they always came at me with the trash talk and all that. So it runs deep for me personally. And then, they're just a really fun fan base to rile up. As I'm sure they feel the same way about us, right? Like when Clemson and Ohio State go at it, man, the fans are just
it's
a
really interesting dynamic. I don't think there's another 2 programs that aren't really, because historically they don't really have that much history, but they've played 5 games total over the entire span of college football history, but all 5 games had a lot at stake, and just a lot of stuff happened. A lot of controversy, injuries, officiating, and and all of that. So their coach Woody Hayes got fired. I didn't even mention
Oh
that.
yeah, that
So
infamous.
the infamous
Sure.
Gator Bowl.
Yeah,
So
the
it's
infamous Gator Bowl.
it's a really cool. I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
And it's kind of and from a Clemson fan perspective, it's cool because it's like, hey, you've made it. You're on the radar of a historical program like Ohio State.
Right.
Just
And the
because
thing is, like, we
Clemson
haven't
has
had
been so good over the last decade. So
yeah, it's not like a rivalry in a sense where we like play every year, but
right.
every time we play, it is a significant game. Like there's big implications on the line when we play Ohio State, and I think that plays into a lot of the fan emotions going into it too, right? Because we never play each other when it's not like this huge, drawn up game, media spectacle, college football playoffs, Gator Bowl, big type games, right? So that's kind of that kind of plays into it as well. And their fans, no offense, Mark, but they do seem to cry about the refs quite often. Not you.
Hey, listen, you're not going to see me disagreeing. I ain't disagreeing. But hey, we can only talk trash so much. They got us in the last. They got us in the last meeting. Got us pretty good in the last meeting. So until we get back, we gotta. Hey, they've got the bragging rights right now. But
absolutely.
Hopefully this season.
It was funny, like last weekend watching Clemson softball and Ohio State softball. Were you watching the game and all those reviews back to back?
Yeah,
I was like, oh, here we go. Ohio State crying about the refs again. They want to challenge every time. It was so funny. It was so funny. That was a thought in my head. I was like, man, I should check Jordan right now.
That's great.
But it was hilarious.
The parallels.
Yep. But Clemson softball getting it done, man. They are getting it done. We got some players on that team. The offense is insane, dude. I don't know, like they can just like they're fun to watch because they put up so many runs. So it's pretty crazy. Mark gets back in, says 4 postseason meetings in 8 seasons, 3 playoffs plus an Orange Bowl. That's huge. Yeah, like I said, games always have high implications, and I think that feeds into kind of the fans going at each other.
And even even when you go back to the Gator Bowl of the '78, that ended up being Woody Hayes' last game coached, and it was Danny Ford's first. So just a kind of a really and obviously Danny Ford went on to do great things, won a national championship at Clemson. So it was kind of a diverging point for both programs. Ohio State didn't fall off the map when Hayes retired or was fired, but it was a shift for both programs as far as they were moving into a new era. So just every single game has just had massive stakes, whether it was you realized it or not, and then so it's just a really interesting dynamic between the two schools. Just a lot of history. I always say they share a lot of history for two schools that don't share much history.
I know it's crazy. It's crazy that it's kind of set up like that, or that it's played out like that so many times. We talk about the big games that have happened. It's insane. He said OSU fans hate to lose. They think it should never happen.
When you won as much as Ohio State,
I don't blame them. I can relate. Clemson fans are, kind of like that now. We get a 10-3 season. We're like, hold up, what is 10-3? Yeah. What? No, right? We've talked ad nauseum on this show about that. Rightfully so. We have the roster that we should expect to win as well.
Right.
So
and Ohio State fans have a lot of reason to gripe with some of the stuff that happens with their program too. I mean, they
absolutely
they've won at a high level, but they just it's been a minute since they won a championship. Relatively, I mean, 2014 is relatively still relatively recent, but. Just they've had some really great teams and haven't been able to get it done, and you're just like, well, if you're a fan and the kind of caliber of player that Ohio State recruits and the coaching staff and all the resources they have, it's like, eventually you got to get it done, especially. And so I think some of the criticism towards Ryan Day is a little too much,
it gets a little out of hand, people calling for his job and stuff like that. Now that may be like a loud like super minority of the fan
Yeah.
base, right? And I'm sure it is. But like stuff like that's crazy. Like John gets in and says Ryan Day has lost 2 Big Ten games his entire career, but because they're both Michigan, Buckeyes actually calling for his job. See, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Like, pump the brakes, people. Like, I know, and I get it. Look no further than me and you on this show talking about how much the South Carolina loss bugged us this season, right?
Yeah.
As much like that bothered us, right?
One of the worst Clemson losses I've just from the, just based on, season expectation and all that. That South Carolina loss is one of the worst I've been alive to see as a fan.
Right.
Just brutal. It's gotten up there with, 2013 Florida State. Well, actually 2013 and 2014 Florida State were brutal.
Right.
07 Boston College. Obviously the 15 championship loss against Alabama. But it wasn't a bad loss, but it was just like you were right there and you weren't, and just some really poor special teams play, and allowing O.J. Howard to run free in the secondary cost you that game where you felt like you were the better team. Just been alive to see some really great Clemson wins and some embarrassing losses.
Absolutely.
That South Carolina loss this year was up there.
It was a tough one. So we say all that to say this: we get it, Ohio State fans.
Yeah.
Like, I understand how losses like losing to Michigan 2 years in a row. Because if we lose next year to South Carolina, boy, let me tell you, you better tune into the Voice of College Football Clemson channel, because we can be on here talking. Okay, but with that said, calling for Dabo Swinney's job would be ridiculous. Just like calling for Ryan Day's job right now is ridiculous, right?
Right.
So I get it, but that's our job as fans, isn't it? To get super emotional and make irrational comments after losses. Isn't that
and I understand. Now, if Ryan Day goes on this really long, this long losing streak against Ohio State or something like that, okay, I could see some, because at Ohio State the expectation is to beat Michigan. That is part of the job requirement, is beating Michigan. Especially beating them more often than you don't. And so now if this becomes a trend and Ryan Day is consistently losing to Michigan, then okay, we can start having those conversations. But he's lost 2 in a row, but he also destroyed them the first time he played them. So the pendulum can swing back the other way. You never know. But just if it becomes a trend, then we can kind of
then
Buckeye fans can have a conversation, because
it will. Don't worry.
Beating Michigan is a job requirement.
Don't worry. No coach is ever going to get comfortable losing at Ohio State. Promise you. Yeah. Okay, they're one of their programs. They're not going to get comfortable, and if they do, they'll be in an unemployment line pretty soon. Mark says the '78 Gator Bowl was one of the first games he ever watched. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I did not watch that game. Well,
I was
not live.
I was 2 decades too late for me.
I did not watch it. I was still not here yet, I guess.
Yeah.
John says that's immense pressure for anyone to take. It is, but it's also why they're so well compensated. And when you take a job like that, you know what you're signing up for. LBC gets in, says USC fans thanks Clemson for getting Earl Bruce hired at Ohio State.
That's a good point.
Yeah. John Sarin, what did I miss? Nothing yet. We're just chopping it up with the.
Yeah, we haven't even really gotten into the prepared content that we had for you guys, because
we haven't even talked about.
We're having a good time, yeah.
But it's been good conversation so far, so we appreciate you guys getting in. The Hard Take says it's cool seeing Mark get in the comment section. It is. We appreciate Mark's graciously letting us do kind of our thing on this channel and providing us with this platform, and then getting in and supporting us as well. So it's pretty cool. Hey, Will the Notre Dame man's in the comment section, Jordan. Shout out to Will. Thanks for joining us, man.
That's my guy right there.
John Sarin says the Notre Dame loss was the painful, brutal one to him.
Yeah, Yeah, that one sucked, especially in the moment. Um, but I don't know. It was that one. That game just was like a system failure on all fronts. Like it was just kind of like you just got flat out outplayed. It was really disappointing just to see Clemson get just thoroughly just pushed around on both sides of the ball like that. But at all phases of the game, it just seemed like the team didn't come in with the right energy, the right game plan. It was all off. And so the result was what it was. It
Yeah.
sucked in the moment, but and especially in light of the loss after that,
Yeah.
it pales for me. I
Yeah.
can
For
take
me as
losing
well.
to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
If I had to take back one game, it would be that South Carolina game. If I
For
could just
sure.
change the result,
100%.
I'd lose to Notre. I'll take that L to Notre Dame again. It sucked, and I definitely want get back next year, this coming year.
Yeah.
But man,
Yeah. I would take the L to Notre Dame. I'd take the L to Tennessee. That South Carolina game would definitely be the one. If I had one
yeah,
that I could, wave a magic wand and make go away, that would be the one. Just because we've talked about it in length, but not. It was losing to them. It was the way we lost. It was all the records that they broke. They stopped for us. All the streaks that were ended that day. It happened in our house. It was just so many things. So many
yeah,
things.
especially the way the game played out. That was of Clemson's three losses. That was the most avoidable. Like you literally could have done one or two things differently, and that you get out of there with a win, and you didn't. And it was a almost a dereliction of duty by the coaching staff in a lot of aspects, and how they, especially in that second half, how they managed that game.
Mm.
And I'm not even just talking about the quarterback position. Should Cade have come in maybe, but I think you still could have won that game with DJ. But if you did not manage that, you did not manage that game properly,
Right.
and that's that's a failure on your part, and so that cost you a game that you should have won, and you were the better team.
Absolutely.
But you didn't win the game,
100%. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. So
That's
enough.
kind of
Enough.
I don't want to
Enough of the
open
South
up those
Carolina
wounds
game.
again, but
Yeah. Enough of that game. We don't need to talk about that anymore. Mark makes a good point. He says Ryan Day most likely a missed field goal away from beating UGA and winning the national title. That's
exactly.
probably true.
The margins are this.
Yeah. See the difference in the season right there. Yeah. I mean, no one would care about that Michigan loss had they won the national title.
Right. I mean, hey, Clemson. You go back to 2016. Clemson had so many close calls that year. Imagine NC State makes that field goal at the end of regulation to win the game. Instead, it goes to overtime, and they pull it out and survive. Marcus Edmonds saves the season. Marcus Edmonds saved Clemson's season 2 times. Because he also made that tackle against Louisville. Forced James Quick out of bounds to preserve the 42-36 victory, and that all-time classic. So the margins between a national championship and you go home in a disappointing season, razor thin sometimes.
Razor thin, man.
But Ryan Day definitely, I think he has all the ingredients to get it done. I think Buckeye fans should be more patient. I mean, the guy is this was his 4th year as a head coach. So
yeah, he's not going anywhere. Give him some time. Give him some time. I know he they always give that analogy that he took over. He hopped in a race car, right? But give him some time. I think it'd be all right. John Sarin says, "Wonder how the Buckeyes will feel when it goes to a 12 team college football playoff where losing to Michigan is not as damaging." Yeah, I get what you're saying, but it's always going to matter. Like those rivalries like that, a Ohio State and Michigan, for us, a Clemson, South Carolina, right? An Alabama Auburn type deal. Like, yeah, can you lose that game and probably still go to the college football playoff once it expands? Yes, but me as a fan, there's at no point in time where that game is not going to matter to me. I don't care if we can lose it and go to the playoffs. Yeah, it'd be nice to still go to the playoffs, sure, but that game's still going to matter to me. Maybe other fans will feel differently. I don't know, but speaking for myself, that game, Clemson, South Carolina, that will always matter, regardless of if it has playoff implications for Clemson. We could lose every game of the season. I still want to win South Carolina.
Yeah.
Right. It's just one of those, those rivalries I don't think will ever go away. All right.
You want to
let's get into the comments, or let's get into our planned content for the show tonight, Jordan. We got a couple things to talk about tonight, some overarching college football things to talk about. We thank you guys for getting in the comments. We'll get back to you at the end of the show. As you know, we always end the show doing exactly what we just spent the first 37 minutes of this show doing. That's interacting with our comment section. We love when you guys get in there and comment. So keep doing so, and hit that like button for us while you're at it. All right. So our first topic of the night that me and Jordan want to discuss are these possible rule changes that we may be dealing with in college football. So my understanding behind these rules is they basically got a year-long effort or committee together, and they're studying college football, and they're trying to figure out a way to shorten the game, right? Essentially is their whole purpose, right? We have to figure out a way to shorten these games. So before we get into the proposed rule changes, sorry guys, let me ask you, do you think college football games need to be shortened? And if so, why do you think they have become so much longer than they were previously?
Well, the second question you could do a whole show on, but to answer your first question, no, I don't think the games need to be shorter. I think the time between the game needs to be shorter. Now, how you go about doing that, TV networks aren't going to like it, but I think there are some solutions possibly to that problem. But no, I don't think that the college football games themselves are too long. I think the rules are constructed fine the way they are. I don't think it's the rules themselves that are preventing, or like the rules that govern general operation and general flow of the game. I think all of that is fine. But I think what's become a problem is there's so many. There's so many delays. There's so many, TV timeouts. There's so many, reviews, especially with rules like targeting and stuff. There's so many breaks in the action that causes the game to go longer than maybe people think it should. And I think there's solutions to streamline all of that. I think the biggest thing is reviews take way too long. You go look at the pros. Yeah. And the NFL, they have a review center in New York, and the head official doesn't have to go to some monitor off the field to go and watch a replay for 5 minutes and deliberate with the rest of his guys to see whether the call was correct or not. They have a review center with 1,000 different angles that even the TV crew doesn't have access to. That allow them to make a great call, and they phone it into the head official, and it's like, and it's like that. It's a streamlined process. And so I think that would be the first thing that would need to change is finding a way to make reviews shorter. If you're not going to have a review center, you gotta have a timer. And if at a certain point, if it's longer than 45 seconds and a minute of review, then you go with the call. You go with the call on the field and move on. Does that mean that maybe 1 or 2 calls per game is not going to be correct? Possibly. I don't know, but I think that streamlining that process and taking less time between the game, between the action to review and deliberate. I think that's part of the reason it kills the flow of the game. So I think finding a way to streamline the review process is the very first thing that I would change.
Absolutely.
And but what do you think?
I completely agree with you. Look, we all know, okay, we all know why the games have gotten so long, right? One of them is exactly what you talked about, right? The reviews. Can't we get like a play clock, if you will, on the referees, like you were talking, 45 seconds. Bro, if you can't figure it out in 45 seconds, if you can't create something like the NFL has with this, the officials in New York that are reviewing all these plays, if we can't figure something like that out to shorten the review process, like what are we doing? That absolutely needs to happen. This whole a game getting paused for 5 and 10 minutes sometimes with like a targeting review and all this nonsense. Come on, man. Like that stuff's got to stop. That stuff is just absolutely ridiculous. And the other thing that makes game broadcasts so long, as we know, is the TV timeouts, right? Unfortunately, that's not going to change. As much as that would shorten a broadcast time and help speed up a game, if you will, that's not going to change. Why? Because that's where the money comes from, right? A lot of these conferences are signing brand new TV deals, right? You got teams or programs set to make, $100 million or something crazy like that per year.
Stupid money. That's
TV
all you need
deals.
to say.
Just ridiculous amounts of money, right? How is that going to be paid for? Why are the networks signing those contracts with different leagues? It's because they're going to pay for that through commercials, right? That's how they're going to make their money back for buying the rights to those particular conferences' games, right? So the TV timeouts really aren't going to go anywhere, although I agree with everybody. That's exactly one of the major issues that's slowing down college football. I just don't foresee it becoming a thing that will change very much because the networks aren't going to go for it. And, well, quite frankly, the teams and the conferences don't want to give up the money that the networks want to give them. So, both parties aren't really going to want that to happen. I don't think the teams would mind less TV timeouts, but then they would get less money. And that's what they're going to mind. They don't want less money, right?
Right.
So that's never going to happen. Money's always going to talk. Money's always going to run college football. We've seen it. But I absolutely think there's a huge opportunity with the review system. College football's review system is absolutely broken. There's got to be something there. I like the solution that you said with a play clock on kind of the officials. Look, if you can't figure it out and they can determine what amount of time that is, if it's like you say 45 seconds, then cool. If not, then whatever that time that they deem necessary to be able to review something. But I mean, we've all been watching football games, and you clearly see it at home, right? They show the replay on the broadcast, and you're like, oh yeah, that was a catch, or that wasn't a catch, or that's a touchdown, or that wasn't a touchdown, and you can clearly see something, and somehow they still spend 5 to 7 minutes figuring something out. And I think a lot of it is like, do you ever notice with like replays, especially if the clock's involved, if they have to adjust the clock? Oh man, you might as well go ahead and tack on 8 to 10 more minutes right there.
Oh my God,
I don't know why.
Worst.
Why is
that
so
happens
hard?
in basketball too. It's infuriating.
Why is it so hard to figure out where the clock was? Like, I mean, I don't understand. Like, maybe I'm missing something, but why is it so hard to, either he was down or he wasn't down, or whatever the case may be, right? Why can't you fix where the clock should have been, right? Like, I don't understand why it takes so long. It's absolutely insane.
Human clock operators, man, and that's a really great point. That one's an extremely frustrating one, and it's an unnecessary. It just kills the flow of the game type thing. Well, and I understand having to review it, but when you're taking this much time and just you're watching and you're like, oh man, it was I blew the whistle at this time and the clock started here, so now we got to get it down to the millisecond to make sure that it's in line with what it's supposed to be. It's way too much. So yeah, I think that's a great I think that's a great point. And I will say this: not all of the rules that were proposed, and obviously not. I don't think all of these are coming to college football. I know these are just proposed; these aren't all guaranteed to happen.
Yeah.
But one of them was they
We
prohibited consecutive timeouts at the end of games. You know, to like to ice the kicker and stuff like that.
ice the kicker
I
thing.
think
Yeah.
I think that's a great rule.
Right.
Take one
And
one timeout is fine, but if a coach is burning all their timeouts to ice the kicker and putting as much time as that's too much. So
yeah,
I don't hate that rule. I think that's great.
I
And
completely agree with that rule.
apparently, I was listening to Cover 3 today, and when they were discussing this as well, and they said that they've done data on all that, and they've collected those kinds of situations, and calling that extra timeout has no effect on whether or not the kicker makes the field goal or not.
I mean, that's my thing, right?
So,
He's either going to make the kick or he's not. Like,
yeah,
waiting 30 seconds to think more about it is not really going to. I don't think it changes anything.
right. Especially in doing it twice, yeah, that's ridiculous. It drags out the game.
If anything, sometimes they get a free kick and they miss it, and then they come back and make the second one, right? So sometimes it works completely in the opposite direction. So yeah, I don't think that's a super controversial one. The prohibiting consecutive timeouts, the quote unquote icing the kicker type deal. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. Why do we need consecutive timeouts anyway? If you couldn't figure it out in the first timeout for whatever reason, too bad. You move on with it, right?
Right. And then the other one is to eliminate untimed downs at the end of quarters.
Yes. So
at least at the end of the first and third quarter, when there's
and third quarter, yeah.
And then so I'm cool with that.
Yeah, and then they'll just do it at the beginning of the next quarter, right?
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Again, that makes sense, right? Not extending for an untimed down. Let's just begin the next quarter with, all right, that was a defensive penalty. Whatever the assessment is, all right, let's rock on with it. I think that makes a lot of sense. And I don't think that disrupts the flow of the game in any way. I don't think it makes any sort of significant change. And if that would save, a little bit of time or whatever, I think that's completely reasonable for the second rule that they're proposing, I guess. So the guys that proposed these rules, it was like a committee of like 12 commissioners, right? Or something like that.
The rules committee, I have no idea who
are they? Like,
who's on that. I couldn't tell you. I'd have to actually look that up. It's public information, but I was
trying to read up on it. It was like something like 12 people, and they went through and whatever. I don't know who they are. But those two, the first two are kind of like the non-controversial rule changes, right? Everybody could look at those rules and be like, okay, if that helps, sure, why not? I certainly don't think any of those rules hurt anything. But moving on to the next one, a little bit more controversial, right? Let me see if I'm going to try to say it exactly how they say it. Let's see.
I assume this is the incomplete pass one, right?
Yeah. Hold on. Let me find it. Okay. The third one is okay. So, okay. No, we're going to get into that last one next, right? So the third one is a proposal that's garnering wide support, right? So the clock will continue to run after an offense gains a first down, except inside 2 minutes in the half, or of course the end of the game, right? What do you think about that?
Yeah, that one's fine. It's kind of like it's kind of similar to the NFL, right? Where obviously the NFL, the clock keeps running unless you even under 2 minutes, unless you go out of bounds or or throwing, but I'm okay with that one.
Yep.
I think that one makes a lot of sense because it doesn't affect late game. It doesn't change late game situations.
Right. You
all
still
that
get
much.
that. You still get that buffer inside 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Going into half or ending the game. Right. So not super. I don't think that one's super controversial at all. I don't know if anybody in the comment section's got an opinion about that, but this last one is a little bit more like I don't know. Right. So the fourth proposal: the clock will continue to run after an incomplete pass once the ball is spotted for play.
I hate it. Hate it.
Why do you hate it?
For a lot of reasons, but
Yeah.
honestly, the main thing is like I said, it's the late game situations that I care about. I'm not a fan of making that much of a change. I'm not trying to
Right.
turn college football into the NFL. So and the NFL doesn't do the whole clock running
They don't. Yeah.
after incomplete pass.
Right.
So I think that would be insane.
Yeah. That would. I don't. So I don't. I don't think that one gets through. I don't
No.
think that'll be. So they're saying these rules, these new rules, could be implemented for the upcoming season, right? These proposed clock rules, I guess, changing of clock situations. Um, do we have like a time frame for when these would be approved? Who are they going to be approved by? Who does that voting? Do we know any of that stuff?
Well, the NCAA, when it comes to making decisions on anything, it takes about 20 years. So
Yeah,
uh,
which is kind of surprising that they're talking about, oh, these could be implemented this fall. And I'm like,
yeah,
wait, what?
that might be why they're talking about it, so
Yeah,
far out, because they know they're not going to get anything done until the last minute. So,
could be.
kind of like me in high school. So that's like it's ridiculous. And so I would assume it would take because they have to go. I know they have to go through like a formal process to
Yeah,
formal vote, and then they have to. There's all these hoops they have to go through to actually get approval and get it implemented. So I really couldn't tell you. I have no idea.
right. And
Will
it'll be
they
interesting
come
to
this
see
season? I don't know.
are they gonna vote on the rules individually, right? Or is it just gonna be vote on the rules, this particular rule package as a whole? How are they gonna do it? John Sarin says probably not just the NCAA, but the networks probably have input too. Yeah, so it was interesting. One of the articles that I was reading was saying that the committee doing all this or whatever, whoever those guys are, have ties to the college football playoffs, right? So maybe it's something tied in with that. Um, but I'm assuming, I mean, is it going to affect like Division II and Division III football?
Well, it would be
Like there's
it would be a look, it would be I would assume it would be widespread
or
throughout
is it just going to
all the
be
divisions that the NCAA has jurisdiction over. So
yeah?
um,
I didn't know if it was just like a D1 thing, like FBS, FCS type deal, because it's kind of
I would
they
assume
kind of
it's
made it. The article I was reading kind of made it sound like it was kind of tied to the college football playoffs and that sort of thing. So there's just a lot of unanswered questions for me, and how the whole approval process will work, and if they're going to vote on, hey, this is the proposed rule number one, yay or nay, right? Are they going to vote like that, or is it going to be kind of like a package deal? It'll be interesting to see. Like you, I absolutely hate the last rule. It does not make sense to me for a running clock to happen after an incomplete pass. I don't even like, where does that come? Where in football, anywhere, do they do that?
yeah.
Is there any level of football that does something like that? I know the
Maybe in Canada.
NFL.
I don't.
Yeah,
Let me not
I know the
slander the name.
NFL. I know the NFL doesn't do it. Does Canada do it? I was about to say that. Is the XFL trying this out? You know what? That's what they should do. They should make the XFL try this out and see how it works. See if it messes up the game before we go messing up college football. Let the NFL try it out. I don't care. I care way less about them. than I do obviously college football. So let some other league try that one out.
Yeah,
I don't. I'm not too keen on that one. I'm not down for that one. Steel Gamble brings up an interesting point. Don't care about anything else. I just want targeting to get canned.
not happening.
Yeah, it's not
Unfortunately,
going to happen.
not happening. Too many.
It's not going to happen.
There's too much litigation going on around college football with
Can we?
with regards to player safety and head
Yeah.
injuries and all of that. The NCAA is terrified of that. They are not going to go back on targeting, no matter how much
Can
we hate it.
Can we at least stop kicking players out of games for it, though?
I don't even.
Unless there's some sort of egregious, you can tell this dude's just out there headhunting type deal, like he meant to cause bodily harm to this person. Like all these bang bang plays that happen in college football every single year, where it just happens to, go that way in a split second decision by a defender and an offensive player. Why is that dude getting kicked out of the game? He clearly didn't mean to do it, but suddenly he's got to go hit the showers and, not be out there with the rest of his team because a football play happened on a football field.
Right.
I just don't I get targeting. And if you want to keep it in the game and you want to make it a 15-yard penalty, or shoot, if you want to make it a 20-yard penalty or whatever, a fresh set of downs, I don't care, right? I just think we should stop kicking players out for it, man, because all these players getting kicked out, and then it's just, I don't like people getting ejected for a bang bang football play that was clearly unintentional. Like you could see it; it was clearly unintentional. They were just trying to make a play, and suddenly they can't participate with their team. I think that's just super unfortunate.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I've heard proposals anywhere from having sort of like a flagrant 1, flagrant 2 type thing to having different levels of targeting, all of that, and I think it would be a great idea in practice, but
think about the review process on that.
Yeah, review process on that would be a huge problem.
We just got finished talking about how to shorten the college football game, and that's what they're going to. And man, you put that on the review team, good Lord, we'd be sitting there for 25 minutes while they try to figure that one out.
Yeah,
goodness,
brutal. But I mean, we already had the targeting rule in general. I mean, you already have unnecessary roughness, but I guess you had to create a special one for targeting. So it's something that is just it sucks, and there's not really anything that we can do about it, and there's not anything the NCAA is going to do about it because they are losing power as it is. They're terrified of losing what little they have left, and they don't want to lose money. And that is the NCAA's biggest fear is, well, one, the Supreme Court, and then all the
absolutely
all the lower courts that hear these cases, the law in general, because honestly their amateur model has been getting absolutely destroyed in court the past week or so, and so the writing's on the wall. The NCAA is, as we know,
finished.
Will not be the governing body of college football for very much longer. But
there's definitely something new coming down for college football. I think as far as a governing body or decision makers, whatever that looks like, whether it's a committee of people, whether it's, kind of a commissioner, kind of like the NFL has. John Sarin brings up a good point. He said, I'm with Dabo, blowing up and starting over is the best solution. So I don't know if you saw it, but Dabo did an interview with Greg McElroy on his YouTube channel and really went into kind of, some issues that he sees in college football. And I know Dabo gets a lot of hate and stuff like that, but he made a lot of good points about saying, just bringing up the point that as currently constructed, college football is not sustainable, right? It's just not, it's just so hard to get change. It's so hard to, fix things. And he made an interesting point on there about, how they're not asking the experts, which would be, the coaches and the ADs and the, people involved with college football every single day about solutions. So I definitely think there's something coming. What that'll be or how far or near in the future it might be, that's all up for the air, and that's all up in the debate. And it's going to be fun to talk about for the next probably year or so. While, I definitely think something's coming sooner rather than later. What it exactly looks like, I don't really know. Dabo seemed to, speculate that it may be less teams in the quote unquote Power Five, right? Or the big boy college football type deal. What that looks like as far as conferences and teams and all that kind of stuff, man, who knows? It's gonna be crazy watching all that stuff work out.
Yeah, absolutely. But hey, neither one of us know what's going to happen. We're basically, us college football fans. We're at the mercy of everything that's going on. The big wigs, the people with money and power and influence and all of this. They don't really have the fans' best interest in mind. So at this point, I've just kind of resigned to, hey, college football is going to be what it is.
We're just here for the ride, man. We're just here for the ride. Honestly, and I'm not going to stop watching college football. I'm probably going to get on here and get mad about certain things that they do, and then I'll get on here and be happy about other things that they do. I'm sure you will as well. It is what it is. That's what fans do as college football fans, right? We're going to yell about the stuff we don't like, and we're going to praise the stuff that we do like. But at the end of the day, I hope that it changes for the better, right? I hope the NCAA goes away. They've been obsolete and a moot point for so long now. I don't even know why they're still a thing or why anybody asks them about anything anymore. Like, everybody just needs to ignore the NCAA. Like, whatever, dude. Like, you go sit in the corner and pretend like you have power, and we'll be over here doing our thing, right? Yeah. That's about how I feel about the NCAA right now. And
that's how the schools feel about the NCAA right now.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely how the schools and the coaches feel about the NCAA.
Look at Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah. Didn't he just not answer their questions? He's like, no, I'm not. No.
Yes, no. Oh, you saying I lied? Oh no, I did. That was a rule? I broke a rule?
Oh,
didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Sorry.
Do you want to talk about it? No. I didn't know. All right, I'll see you guys later. It's just
I love it.
The disrespect. He's just like, whatever, dude. Like, I got recruiting to do, so you guys need anything else?
You really, non-compliance has no consequences anymore.
Yeah, like, what are you gonna do? He just legitimately looked him in the face and was like, "Yeah, no, I'm not gonna." You want to
LSU did the same thing. Auburn did the same thing with Bruce Pearl. They're
everybody's just like, no. NCAA comes asking questions and they're just like, no. Hey, can we see this? No. Hey, do you guys know about this? No, we don't know what you're talking about. And the NCAA just stands there. I just imagine them, figuratively standing there for 5 minutes, they really don't care.
Yeah. What do we do?
All right, I guess we'll go back to the office. I don't know what else to do. The NCAA should stop being involved with college football and just run the other sports. So Dabo kind of alluded to a little bit of that, right? If you listen to his interview, he kind of talked about football breaking away from the other sports, right? And kind of being its own thing, because it is such a different world that college football has become. And he was talking about kind of all the bureaucracy and all the stuff that you have to go through to get things to happen and to get change to happen and to get things going in a direction where, the majority of, the people want it to go. It's just really hard. So he did kind of allude to football kind of breaking away and being kind of its own thing. So that'd be interesting to see if something like that happens. Sounds like the Wild Wild West right there. I don't know how that'll all work out. It'll be football, and then the rest of the sports are still divided into these conferences, or I don't know, man. I don't know how it's going to look.
I don't know either.
I don't know if anybody knows at this point in time, but certainly not us. NCAA will survive once there is a split between true amateur college football and semi-pro college football. Maybe it would look like Power 5 and Group of 5, Power 5 being salaried, but I think that's the end game.
I could see it.
I could see that happening. I could see the Power 5 becoming a group of schools, however many that is, being salaried employees.
Basically a semi-pro league.
Yeah, employees, if you will, because that's what you are at that point. I could definitely see something like that happening. And then those that had the opportunity to make more money off of, being super popular or whatever would have the ability to do so as well. So, but yeah, I could definitely see there being like a baseline. Everybody gets this amount, right? And you've heard people talk about it, stuff like that in the past. So it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out, man. I don't know. It's a lot of stuff to figure out. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I got all the answers to fix college football. Maybe some of these other coaches or ADs or whoever they are do, but it's certainly a complicated thing to even wrap your head around.
Yeah. Ready to actually talk? You ready to actually talk about Clemson?
We got a little something Clemson related. Yeah, let's talk a little Clemson. Okay, we spent the first part of the show, just talking whatever, and then we hit on these new rule changes. Now we're going to transition to a little bit of Clemson football. So all of you that have been waiting for us to talk some Clemson football tonight, here it comes. So I forget who first wrote this article. You said who it was, right?
So we're referencing an article originally from Steve Lasson of the Athlon Sports, but it was basically a rewritten on 24/7 Sports by Brad Crawford, basically headlining the top 10 most lethal rosters in college football. And so basically what Steve did was he took the 5-year recruiting average of every single team and basically just ranked them based on that and kind of as an overall measure of the roster strength. And Clemson came in at number 7.
Numero 7.
So Clemson has the 7th most lethal, in quotation marks, roster in all of college football. Yeah, I think they're slotted right behind Texas and forgot. I think Texas was tied with somebody else, but
Texas and Texas A&M are tied at 5.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah. So, and the reason why we bring it up because I think there's a huge split in the Clemson fan base about how good Clemson's roster really is. There's because when you point to all of the deficiencies that have cropped up over the past couple of seasons, it's been hard for fans to really put into perspective how talented the roster actually is and whether the guys we have right now are really that good or capable of being that good.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of wanted to bring it because I thought it was interesting. I mean, we knew that it's basically kind of like the 24/7 Sports team talent composite, but instead of using the individual players recruiting ranking, it's just an average of your overall finish each year. Yeah. So it's kind of like a different way of looking at it. But either way, Clemson comes in as a top 10 team in terms of team talent, which they've been the past couple of seasons on both the composite and this new lethal rating or whatever you want to call it.
Lethal.
Because it's it's an interesting question, and I wanted to get and you guys in the comment section get your thoughts in as well. How talented is Clemson's roster really?
In my opinion,
you as well.
Get your comments in the comment section right now. I want to see how everybody's thinking. In my opinion, Clemson's roster is elite. at most positions, right? Within every roster, you have your shortcomings. You got your positions that are a little bit thinner than others, right? We've talked about it on this show about how we're kind of thin at defensive end. We're kind of a little thin at linebacker as well. Like when you see who kind of the depth that left Clemson and transferred out, we still got those big name guys, those big name starters, right? But some of those guys, some of that depth, transferred out, right? There's a lot of talk of Clemson wide receivers and can they step up? Can they get the job done? I've read several articles this past offseason, about, kind of the defense refocusing, right? And really the defensive backs being held accountable by the coaching staff and, just flat out saying we weren't good enough last year and we need to get better. So stuff like that, when stuff like that comes out and you hear your coaching staff talking like that, and you got some fresh blood on offense, and you're talking about, a fresh new offense that definitely suits the quarterback that you currently have that just became your brand new starter, literally tailored fit to him, the kind of offense that Garrett Riley runs. When you take all that into account in my mind, and you think about the talent that Clemson does have, do we have some shortcomings? Yes, but we're elite at running back, okay? I think we're getting better, a lot better at offensive line. I think a lot of people don't realize the talent that we have at offensive line, and I think we will continue to build the depth there. Wide receiver, there's definitely some question marks there, right? There's some young guys that are going to have to step up. But our recruiting doesn't lie, right? Average signing class over the last 5 years is 7.8 for Clemson. 7.8 in the country. So that puts us at 7th in the country in recruiting over the last 5 seasons. There's not very many teams that can say that, right? Only
Right.
6 teams are ahead of us in recruiting over the last 5 seasons. That's huge. Clemson's roster is littered with talent. We just got to turn the corner. We've had a couple seasons where things didn't go quite our way. We had a lot of injuries. Guys haven't, developed for whatever reason at certain positions. But I don't think you can argue with Clemson's talent. They have one of the most talented rosters in the country. It's just a fact. Now, there's some depth issues at certain positions that I talked about, but if you're talking about sheer talent, I wouldn't take very many other rosters out there over Clemson's. And I think even those 6 rosters ahead of us, Clemson's got enough talent to compete with any of those guys. So it's all about putting it together, right? It's all about getting the right scheme, the coaches getting on the same page, and putting it all together on the field. But from a talent standpoint, Clemson's about as elite as you can get, right? We're not going to recruit number 1 in the country every single year. It's just never have, probably never will. Maybe, but it hasn't happened yet. And we've had a lot of success on the field. And part of it is the way that Clemson recruits and how they divvy out their offers and kind of their philosophy on that. So some of that is that. But at the end of the day, from my standpoint, from where I'm looking, it's working out pretty well so far. So,
yeah, and I think those are all great points because I think there's just been I think a lot of the fan base has kind of been jaded and kind of pessimistic about the ability of these actual the players that Clemson has on the roster. And I mean, when you put things into perspective, the average is 7.8 over the last 5 seasons.
7.8.
I believe that's got to be one of the highest 5-year average, under Dabo. I mean, because that includes the historic, at least for Clemson, the historic 2020 and 2021 recruiting classes. Mm-hmm. And well, I think there are some guys in that class that have not panned out yet and need to step up and will have to take bigger roles this year. I think that the overall quality of the roster is on paper it's better than it's ever been, and so I think you go back to that 2016 national championship team. That team was not overly littered with 4- and 5-star talent. I believe Bud Elliott does this thing called the blue chip ratio every year, and it basically measures how much of your roster is made up of 4 and 5 stars.
Okay.
No program, since he's been doing it, no program that's been under 50% in the blue chip ratio has ever won a national championship. But Clemson is the lowest. That 2016 Clemson team was the lowest since he's been doing it. I believe they were at 52%, 4 and 5 stars. I believe Clemson's blue chip ratio right now is 67. It's high 60s.
Right.
And so if you look at that from that perspective, Clemson is definitely more talented than they have been. And that 2015 team was really close to actually breaking that trend, because I believe in 2015, the year they lost to Bama in the national championship, they were 48%. And so that was the team. That team was really close. So, and I say all that to say that Clemson, during under Dabo Swinney, has been able to develop talent at a really, really high level. And so I think the gripe that fans have about the team and whether they're talented or not, really, I think their frustrations are misplaced. And I think the difference between what Clemson was able to do then and what they're doing now is that development. And yeah, that seems like an obvious thing, but I think it's kind of gone. I feel like we don't talk about it enough. And I think the biggest thing for Clemson going forward is being able to coach up the guys that you have. And this staff has seen a lot of turnover the past 3 years.
Yep.
So with the guys, especially the greener guys that are settling into their new roles, I think the biggest thing for Clemson is those coaches, the Tyler Grishams, the Thomas Austins, the Wes Goodwin, settling into their new roles and becoming and growing as coaches.
Right.
And I think they have a real. I think the message has been sent this offseason that there's an imperative need to get some, get better results. I think that obviously I think the Brandon Streeter firing, especially within the context of everything we've learned since then about how that whole thing went down, there's a lot of pressure on this coaching staff. And so, what they say, pressure makes diamonds, all of that.
That's right.
That's what you have to hope with. I don't think that the problem is talent. I will say I don't think the wide receiver room is quite as talented as it's been in years past, but I think there's a lot of guys in this room that can play that haven't been able to show it. If you think of Adam Randall is as physically impressive as a wide receiver as I've seen come through Clemson in a long time, and he unfortunately had that injury in spring. And wasn't able to fully work his way back into full, at least at full health. A guy like Troy Stellato. People forget about Troy Stellato. He was a high 4-star guy.
Trying to tell you,
Clemson won a highly profiled, battle over against Ohio State for.
Yeah.
And he spent his entire career injured.
Right.
A guy that you could use in the slot that has true NFL potential at slot receiver. Bo Collins has been probably Clemson's most steady receiver, the past couple of seasons.
Absolutely.
But the injuries is the problem. We all know how good Antonio Williams is. We love Antonio Williams. He's got a lot of ups. He's got a lot of upside. He showed a lot of it this season, and he's only going to get better. But guys like that, and then you have the young guys that are coming in that they're high on. Between Ronan Hannafin and Noble Johnson and Tyler Brown, there is room for a really big season from the Clemson wide receivers. I think there's a lot of guys in this room that will be able to that can play, especially given the new offense and everything. So I think having that kind of that renewed energy, I think is going to be huge for this entire room. And I think Clemson fans, we really need to see it just for the fan base's mental health. The Clemson brands itself as wide receiver U and all of that.
Yeah.
But they haven't been that.
Not for the past 2 seasons, right?
Not for the past 2 seasons. So
not for the past 2 seasons, not even close. there's definitely some room for improvement at the wide receiver position. But with that said, we got a lot of young guys in there, right, that can step up.
I didn't even mention Cole Turner.
Yeah, Cole Turner. Good Lord, look how he came on last year. I mean, you got him and Antonio Williams on the field. Bo Collins has been consistent when he hasn't been injured, right? He's been our most consistent wide receiver, I think, anyway. Not that he doesn't go out there and make mistakes and stuff like that, but he's got a ton of room for improvement. I think he could have a big season this upcoming season, right? Get healthy in the offseason. He could definitely have a big season. And you talked about some of the younger guys coming up. They can actually absolutely step up and really help this team. It's going to be a fresh offense. There's going to be new passing schemes out there. We got two horses in the back that are definitely going to loosen up those secondaries to help those wide receivers get open and help Cade Klubnik in the passing game and stuff like that, especially with how Garrett Riley, I imagine, is going to run the ball. It's going to be a different look on offense. And it's been a rough 2 years for the Clemson offense. But what I will say is I wouldn't be too down on them, right? I think we forget how injured this team was back in 2021, right? And I know that was a rough year. Look, it was hard to watch. We were ready to see Tony Elliott go. We were happy he took the Virginia job, right? We thought we needed to move on from that. And unfortunately, Brandon Streeter got, the job and had some improvement, but not the improvement that was necessary, right? But like you previously stated, the statement has been made. The bell has been sound. The warnings have been given. Dabo Swinney is looking for results from his coaching staff, because what you can't say is Clemson doesn't have talent. They've won, as you pointed out, with far less talent. Talent is not the problem in Clemson, South Carolina. Talent has not been the problem for the past 2 seasons in Clemson. So anybody saying that it's talent, it's not. It is not talent. Coaching has been the problem. Injuries have been the problem. And that's not an excuse. Everybody deals with injuries, right? It happens. But, I think Dabo Swinney has fired his warning shots, and we'll see what happens, And, I think it's good that, a program like Florida State and Miami and some of these others, in the ACC are getting some hype, especially Florida State. They're getting a lot of national attention, right? That's great. I like it. I welcome it. I enjoy it because that lights a fire, right? That's a little bit of outside pressure that you're not just going to roll in and be in the ACC championship every year. You're not just going to roll out and, bludgeon every ACC team like you did in 2018, right, with a Trevor Lawrence-led team. So all of that stuff is good. And, just to reiterate, like talent is not the problem at Clemson. It's not. We got more talent right now than we had definitely in 2016, right? Maybe not in 2018, depending on how you look at it. But, at this point in time, Clemson is at the height of its talent when it comes to the football field. So there's just, they got to put it together in the coaching staff and look no further. The reason that I'm so adamant that we have plenty of talent on the field and that it has been coaching is look at a couple of the teams ahead of us, Jordan. Texas A&M, what have they done lately? What's their best season? 8-4?
Yeah, unless you count what they won the Orange Bowl in that COVID season, but
yeah,
there's Kellen Mond isn't. It's funny because Texas A&M fans were fed up with Kellen Mond, and he won so many games for them, and then as soon as he's gone, they
just fall apart, right?
Precipitous drop off.
Yeah, Texas Longhorns. How's that worked out for them, right?
Yeah.
LSU. Outside of that, that 2019 season, and last year they had a pretty good season as well. But I just say that to reiterate that coaching matters. You can have all the talent in the world. You have to have good coaches on the field. Scheme matters. Coaching matters. Development matters. These guys can come in with all the talent in the world, But if they're not developed properly and they're not put in the right situations on game day, it don't matter how talented your roster is. You're going to get your butt kicked.
Yep.
And that's been, part of Clemson's problem the past couple of years. So we definitely have the talent out there. No doubt about it in my mind. We are plenty talented enough to win another national title in the near future. Hopefully Klubnik brings one home for us.
I love that.
Well, we'll
certainly
see.
Love that.
Yeah, it'd be great. But I think we'll leave that there. I think our feelings are clear on Clemson's talent and their ability to recruit. I think they do just fine for little old Clemson. Right? Let's get into some recruiting talk. What do you got for us from the recruiting end of the matter that we just talked about? Right, we talked about all the talent that Clemson currently has on the roster. You got some news on some guys that may be on the roster come, I don't know, January next year.
Maybe we'll see.
We'll see.
But no, mostly just running back and quarterback recruiting updates. I just kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit. But it seems like a 4-star running back, lone Clemson running back offer, a North Cobb product, David Eziomume. Dang it, I stuttered this when I said it. I usually get it like I've practiced so much this week getting it right. I think I have it right. But
I'm going with
running
you.
back David Eziomume does appear to be nearing a decision. Obviously, we've talked a lot about him. A guy that has not. He's kind of flown under the radar because he wasn't. His junior season, he wasn't like the primary ball carrier for his high school. But he's poised to have a really big year this year. But the staff really loves him. He moves really well, and I like his tape as well. But he seems to be nearing a decision. He's mainly been deciding between Clemson and Georgia Tech. Proximity to home was a really big, factor in his decision. And he tweeted out earlier this week. He made a tweet that said "lone running back offer" and then put the little ascending graph thing. And as far as I know, Clemson is the only one on his radar that is that he's their lone running back offer. So I don't know. You put 2 and 2 together. He seems to be nearing a March 1st or so decision date. I think that's a really good sign for the Tigers. They recruited him hard. They made it clear to him that he is their only, and he's the one that they want. He's the priority, and I think it's resonated a lot with him and his family. So I think that would be a really nice get. So yeah, really like his tape, and I think it'll be good. It'll be a good win for CJ Spiller on the recruiting trail. I know his recruiting efforts have been under a lot of criticism these past couple of cycles, but I think this would be a really good get. And to get it so early, because I think the issue the past couple of seasons is, Clemson has stuck on a running back recruit for so long before they moved on to somebody else, and by the time they moved on to somebody else,
they lost some other ones in the process.
Yeah. And just that the philosophy around how they slow play, especially the running back position, that they decide to slow play it and lock on one guy, which I think can work. I think it works in certain situations, but I do think it has cost them the past couple of years. So
yeah, it works when you land your one guy, right?
Yeah,
when you land your key guy, your first offer.
But it seems like it's going to pay off this time around. I think it was a really good circumstance as well, just considering how close David is with his family, and just being close to home is a big deal to him. Obviously, Georgia Tech would offer that as well. But when you combine the football, what Clemson can offer him on the football and academic side, obviously Georgia Tech has amazing academics, but the combination of the two, I think is really appealing to him and his family. So really good sign. I think Clemson is in a really good position. So, but we'll see how that plays out. Still
looking like we might have one.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
And then on the quarterback front, obviously we know that Clemson is trying to. They had two running. They've had three quarterback targets this cycle. Obviously DJ Lagway ended up was kind of the guy earlier in the process. Ended up committing to Florida. I hope the lines of communication are still up because I really love DJ Lagway. He reminds me of Deshaun Watson and he has some Cam Newton qualities as well. So I don't know. I think he's probably my favorite quarterback in the class. Obviously, Jaden Davis from Providence Day is Clemson's other. Well, he was Clemson's but second quarterback offer. That's like recruitment. They're still kicking the tires on that one, but there was some, early love in the process, but it seems like Jaden Davis is leaning towards Michigan, and that's a recruitment that doesn't seem like there's a lot of fire or steam, going in that direction right now. And then obviously the big one was losing Walker White. That was, Clemson, zeroed in on him as the target. That was Garrett Riley. It was probably Garrett Riley's number one guy. And, Clemson felt really good coming off of his official visit, ends up committing to Auburn.
Yeah.
So this has been an interesting process for Clemson as far as quarterback recruiting. I will say I don't think Clemson is in dire need of a quarterback, a high-profile quarterback this cycle. I think they should take one, and I think the plan is to take one. I think you have to take one every cycle. In the transfer portal days, you need to be able to have that kind of depth because just the way things worked out, you're going to have guys transfer. So
we all know how it works, right?
Right. So I think they're looking hard into that. It seems like, and I see some have mentioned him in the comments, that Clemson is kind of feeling out Aaron Noland, 4-star quarterback. I believe he's I don't remember exactly where he is in the rankings, but he's a guy that Clemson has reached out to. They've been in contact with. They have not extended an offer to him because obviously, the way Clemson recruits, they want you to they want you to visit first because they see recruitment as a two-way street, and that's kind of how they filter out the guys that are serious and the guys that are just looking for a free visit. So, Clemson always wants their guys to come on their own and visit before they actually extend an offer. And Aaron Noland is a guy that has garnered some interest from Clemson. So we'll see how that plays out. That, again, they have not offered. Aaron Noland has not visited Clemson yet. So, but that is a guy that Clemson is kind of been in contact with. And also Marcus Davila, the former TCU quarterback commit. He just backed off his pledge yesterday. So that's a guy that Clemson has also sort of been in contact. He was committed to TCU when Garrett Riley was there. So that may be the direction they go as well. There's not a lot of we still have to wait a little bit longer. Obviously, I think the quarterback picture will become more clear as we get into March. And we've already started seeing guys, scheduling visits for the June 1st visit date, and guys that are visiting in March as well for the June. Well, I guess it's second junior day, I guess.
Yes.
So I think that whole thing, the big picture, the big quarterback picture, will take shape in the next couple of weeks. So we'll see where Clemson chooses to go. But they've missed on their big options. But it was, I think people that are concerned about it are a little misguided. I think it was always going to be hard to recruit a high-profile guy with Cade Klubnik and Christopher Vizina now in the fold.
Yeah, that's a tough quarterback room to walk into, man.
Yeah.
There's some dudes in there, so
so
you get it. these guys want to play, and they may or may not see a path forward playing at Clemson, right, with those two guys in the room. So I have no doubt Clemson will figure it out for sure. Hopefully, our June 1st recruiting official recruiting weekend will be as successful as last year's, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
That definitely lit a fire under Clemson recruiting last offseason, which is probably why Dabo's doing a rerun on that one. So, some good news, some hopeful news in the recruiting department, at least anyway. John Saren says, "I know Dabo recruits. Doesn't change."
I think he's talking to Edward there.
Oh, okay, I got you. Will says, "I love seeing chaos at LSU."
Oh, I know you do, Will. I know you do.
I wonder why.
I wonder why. Maybe it's a person with the same initials as Burger King. I think.
You think so? I don't know. Maybe just don't like their uniforms or something.
Yeah, that's got to be it.
It's got to be the uniforms. He don't like that they got a live tiger. That's what.
Yeah, no, it must be the midfield logo. He just must hate it.
That ugly eye they put on the field. John said, "I bet Irish love seeing LSU." Of course they do. Why wouldn't they? I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all. Jordan, our very own Clemson softball team won tonight 6-0 against you.
Beautiful.
University of South Florida. So
shout
out 12-0 on the season. First time in program history. Ranked 5th in the country. Absolutely killing it. So shout out to the softball team.
Love this team. Really excited to see where they end up. I felt really good. Just how last season went. Winning regionals, going to the super regionals, and hosting a regional. Yeah,
huge, man. Hosting a regional.
It's a really big deal. It was really great for the program. The way they're talking, they have higher aspirations this year. It'd be really nice to get that ACC tournament championship this go around.
Yes, please, for sure. But they're starting off super, super hot this season, hitting the ball really well, scoring a lot of runs. So hopefully they can then keep the momentum going. Of course, they're not going to win every game, but let's hope they keep the momentum going, especially the offensive momentum. And we all know
baseball team as well has looked good.
Yeah, the baseball team's playing well.
Still undefeated.
Got a new coach over there. Fresh start. Kind of trying to shake back and get a little bit of juice back going over there. So, all these. We started a lacrosse team, right? You see the women's lacrosse team.
Yeah, the women's lacrosse team has been.
They destroying people. Good Lord, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I know anything about lacrosse.
I know very little. I had friends.
I saw a score and it was like 21-1. Yeah. I don't know how often 21 goals.
That's a massacre.
Are scored in lacrosse, but that sounds insane. I don't know if it is, but it sounds insane. So it's cool to see Clemson starting these new programs and them having so much success. Like you said, the softball is only in their fourth full season as a program, right? Selling out every game. They sold out all their season tickets. The women's lacrosse team doing great. It's cool to see all these new programs at Clemson just flying off. They just took off the runway like a fighter jet, dude. So pretty awesome to see. Glad to see sports are not just football, but sports in general is alive and well at Clemson and thriving. So
absolutely, yeah. I need these spring sports to do well because basketball is raising my blood pressure.
How's our basketball team doing? Let's get a little basketball update from Jordan Bowman.
The update is Clemson basketball being Clemson basketball. Now they did they are coming off of a big home win against Syracuse, 18-point win. seem to kind of get a little bit of their mojo back. We'll see. They don't seem to take that with them on the road, which I think has been the biggest issue. They've been a very poor road team, and they're going on the road this weekend against NC State. Big battle. They're trying to hold on to that to a top 4 seed. You get that double bye if you're one of the top 4 seeds in the ACC tournament, and NC State is vying for that spot as well. I think Clemson is a game, or no, I think they're a half a game ahead of them. So if they win, winning this game would be huge. But you got to go on the road, and NC State's playing really well. They have a really nice big in DJ Burns, who's been a matchup nightmare for basically everyone they've played. They have really good guard play. It's a good team. They will not be favored to win this game. But I think this is a game that Clemson needs. They need a big win. They don't have, I think South Carolina, with their performance against Alabama the other night or last night, I think they're no longer a quad 4 loss for Clemson. So I think that's good. I guess it helps their net ranking a little bit. But really,
we good at getting them quad 4 losses, ain't we?
Yeah, no, we do a great job at that. And Virginia losing to Boston College helped. As well, but still, I think this team really needs to find some consistency on the road, because they only have 2 home games left, and after that, it's neutral site. It's all neutral site, and you have to be able to win away from Little John. Yeah, it just the way this season has gone. It's just been such a mixed bag of emotions. There's been a lot of positive about this season. You set the program record for conference wins. And all of that, you had a 10-1 start in ACC play. You were in first place at one point, and you set some program records, but it's just been marred by really head-scratching losses. I mean, the South Carolina loss, the Boston College loss, the Louisville loss was to top it all, 3-win Louisville team, just one of the worst probably the worst Louisville team I think I've ever seen, and so it's been a really frustrating season from that aspect, because the highs and the lows have been so far apart. And I'm really interested to see what they do, this offseason. I think it's going to take I think Clemson does need they need to win a few of these remaining regular season games. And I think getting a double bye and winning at least 1 or 2 games in the ACC tournament, I think they need to do that in order to secure a spot, because I think this team is good enough. Right. I think this team is good enough. The roster is good enough. I think they have the players to be a tournament team. And before this skid, I thought this team was good enough to win a couple of games, maybe match that Sweet 16 team from 2018. And they just haven't found that consistency on the road. I don't know what it is. They lack physicality at times. I feel like they don't, whenever they play teams that have better athleticism than them, they don't do anything to match it. They have players that don't start that I think would help them a lot in that regard. Guys like Chauncey Wiggins, RJ Godfrey, I think that would help. And when they have come into games, they've added that length, they've added that athleticism against teams, because that's where Clemson struggles, is teams that just have better athletes than them. And so just those kind of decisions from Brad Brownell, some of the rotations have been a problem, and you just had your best guys not show up at times. Chase Hunter missing. Chase Hunter has gone through a kind of a shooting funk. He had a much better game last night. But Hunter Tyson, he's been taken out of games a lot through this last stretch. He was a ACC Player of the Year candidate a few weeks ago, but he just hasn't been the same. It seems like he's been timid. Hasn't been able to create his own shot like he was earlier in the year, and teams have just kind of have been able to take him out of the game, and that hurts. And so at least PJ Hall basically having to carry the load by himself on the offensive side of the ball. So getting those guys to play well, Brevin Galloway also, when he's hitting shots, I think it's a huge deal for Clemson. So I just went on a long diatribe about Clemson basketball.
Oh, you're good, man. You're good. It's good to get an update on what's going on with the program and stuff like that.
But we'll see how they go. NC State game is huge. I think that I think this is a must win for them.
Yeah. Still a little bit of hope.
They need a resume building win against a hot NC State team.
Still a little bit of hope alive for the tournament. We'll see how it all shakes out. But like you said, gotta figure out a way to get some success on the road, right? We'll see how the rest of the games go, but hopefully they can at least make the tournament. Hopefully make some noise in the ACC tournament too.
Yeah.
I won't be holding my breath. That's for sure. If the coach called plays for him to help him out, they're just talking some basketball in the comment section. I'm not going to pretend to know very much at all about Clemson basketball. Follow it from afar, but you're
doing yourself a favor.
Yeah. I guess I'll keep my distance as per advised. Good example is Clemson's football offensive coordinator being fired and bringing in another one due to lackluster offense. Y'all talking about fired Brad Burnell again?
Yeah.
That man ain't never getting fired.
I'm worried that I'm really interested to see how this season plays out because I know that him and Graham Neff had a talk before the season about what the expectations were, and I mean, it was at least made clear that there needed to be some significant improvement this year,
right?
And just the mixed bag that this season has been. I don't know if this is enough for Brad Brownell to keep his job, and I don't know. I've been on I think the basketball program needs a change of leadership at this point. It's been 13 years,
right.
Three tournament appearances, maybe 4. We'll see what happens this year.
Right.
But either way, 3 or 4 tournament appearances in 13 years is brutal. And I think the biggest thing that the biggest excuse that I've heard about the basketball program is, the money hasn't been there for a while, and all of that, and the facilities and all that. Well, Clemson has invested in the facilities now.
Yeah, they redid the whole Little John.
They redid Little John. They did all of that. The basketball facilities are great, and the investment into recruiting and all of that. Well, sure, you can say that maybe Clemson hasn't always invested in their program, but when you pay a coach and extend a coach for being for being average at his job, how else do you expect? Maybe there would be more money to throw around. Brad Brownell he hasn't said it publicly, but I know that one of his gripes has been his coaching salary pool. It hasn't been great to work with, but hey, you kept taking those extensions and raises that D-Rad was giving you for, barely going 500 and all of that. I mean, one of his tournament appearances was with Oliver Purnell's players. And the problem with this program and the previous administration was rewarding him for not being all that good. Hell, Oliver Purnell made the tournament 3 straight years. When he was here, 3 straight years. He didn't win a single tournament game, but he got there.
he said, "I went."
Yeah.
What else y'all want me to do?
I don't think that. I don't think that money is what has kept Brad Brownell from winning more than he has. I think Brad Brownell has kept Brad Brownell from winning more than he has, and that's. After 13 years, I think there has to be a change.
Yeah.
Now we'll see how this team play. I still want this team to win, so don't misconstrue that.
Right.
I don't. If I want this because I want these players. I think these players deserve it. I think this team is good enough. I want this team to win out the rest. If I can make it happen, I would. If that means more Brad Brownell, I mean, it is what it is.
So be it, right?
But I want this team to win. Because at the end of the day, that's what I care about, whether Brad Brownell is the coach or not.
Right.
And so, but at the end of the season, if Clemson is, just is playing for an NIT, ends up in the NIT or something like that. I mean, what have you really accomplished? And
nothing really.
Now, after 13 years,
especially after the start to the season. I mean,
yeah,
it was looking pretty promising early on, but it's maybe there's a new AD in town. He don't got his buddy D-Rad up there giving him raises anymore. So, and like you mentioned, he had a conversation with him before the season. Who knows how that conversation went? But sounds like it was something like, you better start doing better, or we're going to move on. And I know a lot of people out there would probably come back with, well, who are you going to get? I mean,
this team has money. They have the money.
It's Clemson. They got enough money to go pay a coach,
especially these days with how much money has come into the athletic department.
Yeah, they got enough money to go pay a coach.
Money would not be a problem for Clemson to attract a qualified head coach.
Right.
And I just, it's frustrating. And
yeah.
The biggest problem with this team and just the head scratching losses is just how old they are. I want people that are, Brad Brownell defenders to think, will it ever get better than this? Because this is arguably, just from a roster makeup. I mean, obviously that Sweet 16 team in 18 was great as well, but this team this year is more experienced than that 18 team was. All of these guys have played a lot of basketball, and it features one of the highest rated recruit Brad Brownell's ever signed in PJ Hall. You've got Hunter Tyson, who's been here for 5 years. Brevin Galloway is 25 years old. 25 years old.
Dang. Hey, he'd have Stetson Bennett of college basketball.
Yeah. Oh my God! Like he's been in college forever, and just Chase Hunter is a veteran now. Ian Shefflin has been here a while now. Middlebrooks. This is a really experienced team, and just to have the kind of results that you've had. I mean, yes, upsets happen, but and just you're going to have a bad night. It happens to every team in college football. But when you have bad nights to the kinds of teams you're having bad nights to, the Louisvilles, the South Carolinas, the Boston Colleges of the world. Yes, Boston College beat UVA, but still, but there's that's not a good team, and you need to win those games. How can you expect? Like, when will it get better than this? Because Clemson is not pulling in 5-star talent. There's not anything you can point to right now to say that this team is going to be definitively better in a few years than it is right now. I have no reason to think that. And when you answer that question, and the results that you have seen so far is making the tournament once every 4 years, at best.
Yeah.
Then I think
seems like it's not good enough.
It's been 13 years.
Yeah,
it's been 13 years.
Enough. And you make a good point. What evidence is there that it's going to get any better?
Yeah.
Right. So what if they do go on and make the tournament this year and win a game? Is that just what Clemson basketball aspires to be? Win the or go to the tournament every now and then and win a game here, win a game there in the tournament, relegated to the NIT the rest of the time? I mean, I don't know.
No, in NIT the rest of the time. That's generous, because we haven't even we've missed the NIT more often than we've made it too.
That's true. That's true.
He's missed the postseason in total, like half of the years he's been here. So, that includes the NIT. Just this is a program that can and should be better than it is.
Absolutely.
I know the excuses about, especially with the way the conference is right now. North Carolina no longer has Roy Williams. Duke no longer has Coach K. Jim Boeheim is literally filling out his forms for his retirement home. Mike Bray is no longer going to be coaching at Notre Dame. I don't know why I included that. Louisville is in the toilet. Just
Right.
all these programs, all the tradition. I don't even know why I include Notre Dame is not necessarily traditional basketball power, but they've been good under Mike Brey.
Yeah.
But the issue is that the ACC is so down, and yet you've hardly been able to take advantage of it. Hell,
Yeah.
North Carolina still beats you in Chapel Hill by 20.
And they're terrible.
The preseason number 1 team that is struggling that is hardly on the bubble right now, beat you by 20 at home. Hubert Davis, and it's not even a Roy Williams North Carolina team. Hubert Davis.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say. Hey, you beat Duke at home. I guess the one of the worst Duke teams I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. Well, they got to hang their hat on something.
I didn't say Mike Brey was retiring. I said he's not coaching. He's no longer coaching at Notre Dame. He's not. He's leaving Notre Dame. I didn't say he's retiring, but he's going to be gone. And that Notre Dame team is terrible. Who you played the last regular season game of the year? We'll see how that turns out. That's another game that I can't trust them to win that game either. So we'll see how that one goes.
We'll see. We shall see.
John, I got on a Brownell diatribe, man.
We got him going. We got him going on the basketball.
Sorry, I'm very passionate about this basketball program, and I don't know why I continue to be, because it seems like the care is not reciprocated at times, and that's been the Clemson basketball fan experience, is that you invest all this time and money and you don't really get the results that no one's asking for Clemson basketball to be a national championship program. Like hell, Alabama is over here like number 2 in the country. I'm not even asking for that. I just want to make the tournament more often than we don't. I just want a decent product to watch, when football ends and all of that.
I think that's reasonable. Right?
Yeah, I think it's definitely reasonable, especially with the way the ACC is right now.
Right. With a place
and
like
with the
Clemson,
money that Clemson has to play with these days.
Right.
It should not be a problem to make the tournament more often than you don't. Yeah. And apparently it's been a tough task for Brownell. Other coaches have done it. Purnell did it. Cliff Ellis did it. Rick Barnes did it. But he can't.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. They're not going to cut this one up into a segment. This is a football channel, but
okay. That's okay. We got to talk about the relevant Clemson stuff, and basketball is very relevant right now. So, it's obviously, a frustrating thing for all Clemson fans. And I know there's a lot of people in the comment section probably like me who kind of follow it casually from afar, not get too deep into it. And part of that is they're just not very good very often. So it's kind of hard to, get into, right? And they traditionally haven't been ever. So, but like you say, recently they've definitely put some money into the basketball program. They got tons of money flowing into the Clemson athletic department. There's definitely no shortage of money. We keep popping up new teams, new sports. So clearly we got some money flowing around.
Yeah.
So that should not be the issue that the basketball team is unsuccessful. I can tell you that money should not be the issue. If we got money to start up new programs, then the basketball program should have plenty of money to be successful and compete. Why doesn't Clemson recruit better? You talked about how we've upgraded. Okay, all right. Okay.
We've already gone 2 hours.
I got you.
I'm gonna leave it at that.
We'll leave.
I agree, John. Softball and baseball that's where it's at right now.
That's where I'm at right now, baby.
Right now.
Softball, baseball, mainly softball.
Saw people mention I saw a couple people mention the base running for the aggressive base running for college for the baseball team. Yeah, it's been great to see. They've 21 stolen bases so far this year. Benjamin Blackwell I think Benjamin Blackwell leads the country in stolen bases, so that's cool. And the crazy stat is Clemson had like 34 stolen bases all of last year. So really love to see it. This team is much better at manufacturing runs. It's not feast and famine like it was last year. You know, if you didn't have, you know, Max Wagner and Blake Wright just launching, you know, solo homers every damn week, you'd be worse than you were. But now this team is, you know, it's kind of been a back to basics approach with Eric Bakich and
it's good, man.
You know, just being able to just score, finding ways to score and manufacture runs instead of relying on, you know, big plays.
Yeah, it's nice to see some new blood injected into the baseball program, right? Because Clemson's always been pretty good, right? So I think it was
a very proud program, a lot of tradition, a lot of winning. You know, 12 College World Series appearances. This is a program that
I think it was time to make a change.
After football, this is the baby. This is the pride of you know, Clemson athletics. So it's nice to get a coach that knows how to win. He's won at multiple stops. And, you know, he was at Clemson when, you know, under legendary coach Jack Leggett. So he's familiar with the program. He knows what this program is about and what it can be when it's at its peak. So who knows? Maybe he'll be the one to actually bring a World Series title.
Might be.
I don't know. We'll see. But a lot of talent on this team. A lot of really exciting freshmen. That's my favorite part about this team is the freshmen have come up really big. A lot of guys that have played well. You know, Canarella and Tristan Smith, and I like the makeup of this team. I don't know if we'll see when we get into conference play how good this team really is, but I think the future is bright regardless, and I think the foundation is being laid, and they're off to a really good start.
Absolutely, they're definitely off to a great start this season, and you know, with the new leadership, you know, it was time. It was time to make a change, and it's nice to see them get off to a fast start. Granted, they're not in the conference play or anything like that yet, but team's looking pretty good so far. And we already talked about how great the softball team's looking, already ranked number 5 in the country. So don't worry, basketball, baseball, and softball's got it. They'll pick up the slack and carry the banner that is Clemson through that end of it. All right. I think we're going to wrap it up, Jordan. We've been on here for 2 hours. Talked about a lot of stuff, guys. Thank you guys for getting in. Thank you for getting into the chat section. As always, we really do appreciate it. Had fun interacting with you guys early on in the show, and then getting into the rule changes of college football and a little bit of roster stuff and talking the talent that Clemson has on the roster as far as our football team. And then, of course, we talked recruiting in basketball and softball and all sorts of stuff. We talk about all kind of crazy stuff on this channel. But again, thank you guys for joining us for another great episode of the All In Show here on the Voice of College Football Clemson channel. Jordan, you want to send our fine audience off for the night?
Yeah, once again, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys are here next week, same time, same day, same time, Thursday, 7:00 p.m. We will be here to talk Clemson football. Appreciate you guys for showing up and showing out. Really good discussion tonight. So we will have more to discuss next week, and we'll see you then.
All right, guys. Until next time, I am Tiger Paul Craven. He is Jordan Bowman, and we'll see you next Thursday.